Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup. We've covered this week's event tie-ins as well as this month's issue of Magic the Gathering. So now it's on to a few other things. Kicking things off, we've got Marauders number 7. Where we left off, the Marauders had secured the time drive, which had the survivors of Threshold, an ancient cosmic mutant civilization, and they had requested the aid of a refugee from the future, namely the year 2099, Cerebra, to try and make resurrection of those in the time drive possible. However, Lockheed, meanwhile, was trying to get information regarding the Theater of Pain, which is where we open in Waterbury, Connecticut. A follower of the theater is and an associate of Brimstone Loves deals with the theater's landlord. In Krakoa, back on Krakoa, Captain Pride talks with Cerebra about getting her help with the mutants' threshold. Meanwhile, Aurora, Fang, Zakihiro, Psylocke, and Somnus are at Captain America, Nebraska, when a biker attacks them. Apparently, though, there's the biker being one of the watchdogs, and well, mutant by the name of Horsepower is facing off against the watchdogs in the town. The quartet of Marauders try to subdue him. There's a text portion on the scientific council meeting about concerning Cerebra. Those involved being Dr. Nemesis and Captain Kate Pride, with Nemesis explaining that, kind of giving an idea of what the upper limits of Cerebra's powers are. Bishop and Cerebra briefly bond over over them both being refugees from the future, and the stars of the threshold are hatched, having found a way to merge themselves for easier storage. The mutants of Threshold, the 3 survivors from Threshold, explain, basically give the history of Threshold, tell the X-Men the history of Threshold. Including the downfalls. Apparently, theirs was the exact opposite of what would basically be seen as the Society of the of the Marvel Universe is primary Earth, as in here it's primarily mutants, with some non-powered individuals who were who actually were also regarded rather highly. Apparently, it said as they were born with no gifts, their wisdom checked thresholds of ever-growing power. There was then a war, however. The threshold was attacked by the Unbreathing, and released a designer virus was released, but the virus evolved to affect the mutants of Threshold as well, and so the three survivors merged together to survive. But they asked for help, and will Krakoa answer? And of course they will. Cassandra Nova. Expresses her own opinion, stating that if the Marauders are going to go in search of Threshold and try to revive all those who died, it would be their demise. And it's there were two specific viruses left. Two sentient viruses that had continued on to continue their fight. Arca and Sublime. I'm assuming that Sublime is in reference to John Sublime, leader of the U-Men, an adversary who gained some prominence during Chris Boshlow's, I think Chris Boshlow was involved, but Grant Morrison's new X-Men run 20 years ago. Marauders definitely getting interesting. Moving on to our next book, we've got Edge of Spider-Verse number 5. So we also got Spider-Man number 1. We're starting with Edge of Spider-Verse number 5 instead of Spider-Man number 1 because Edge of Spider-Verse, in a very tangential manner, leads into Spider-Man number 1. So as for the rest, it's an anthology. You got 3 stories: Hunter Spider and Predator or Prey, Web Weaver and Counterfeit Catwalk, and Silly Spider and Silly Spider by P.T. Parker. Predator or Prey, written by Dan Slott and James DeMatteis, drawn by Bob McLeod. Web Weaver, written by Steve Fox, drawn by Kei Zama. Silly Spider by P.T. Parker, written by Phil Lord and drawn by David Lopez. So, Shathra is making a play to wipe out the Spider-Verse. And so, other spiders are being... And so, the Spider-Verse heroes are being recruited. On Earth 31, Sergei Kravinoff does the usual Kraven thing and drinks a jungle elixir before going on a hunt. However, the beast he's hunting, when he finds, is already dead. And he's attacked by a giant spider. The spider bites him, but he bites the spider back, and a few months later, he's welcomed to New York as the Kraven, the Hunter Spider. But gotten there by none other than J. Jonah Jameson, to deal with the animal-themed villains that run rampant in New York. We see Kraven take down the Rhino, and apparently he has a trophy room with mounted heads and a few stuffed corpses. The heads are Stegron, White Rabbit, Grizzly, Puma, the Lizard, Black Cat, Man-Wolf, I think. One I don't entirely recognize. I think it's Human Fly, actually. While Vulture, Scorpion, and Rhino are stuffed, but a wasp has gotten in. Not just one, but an entire swarm. Kraven fights them off, even eats some of them, and then steps through a portal where he meets with Aranya, Madam Web, and Spider UK. The guiding consciousness, he says, when the wasp attacked was formidable. And he says that, and so it's explained that a mighty hunter will be needed to put this beast down. Next up, we've got the Web Weaver in Counterfeit Catwalk. So, the Web Weaver is Cooper Cohen. Cooper Cohen of Earth 71490. We see him having a few dates, but no one really, it's kind of the whole thing where he can't really. There's elements of his life he can't talk about. How he saved his high school crush Peter Parker from being bitten by a giant spider, and instead got bitten himself. Hiding his superheroics while also hiding his sexuality from his parents. Got kicked out, but he moved in with his aunts. He went to fashion school and also designed himself a costume, and also became a top fashion designer and working for Janet Van Dyne. And it's Fashion Week. Janet Van Dyne seems a bit, when she comes to visit comes to see everyone, things are a little bit off. Though it seems that it's not Janet, because Janet is hidden in a closet. Web Weaver has a run-in with Silk. The two of them are constantly flirting. The next night at at Janet Van Dyne's highly anticipated New York Fashion Week show, turns out that Cooper got his roommate Peter a spot with in the camera pit, and also has his girlfriend MJ on the catwalk. But Janet pulls one of the models, pulls Millie the model to the restroom and takes her place. But Web Weaver notices that it seems Millie the model suddenly has a massive death claw and knocks her down, and turns out to be the Chameleon. But takes a little bit of work, but Chameleon is stopped, and Cooper's ex played a bit of a help and gives Web Weaver a quick kiss goodbye before Web Weaver steps through the portal. Then we've got Silly Spider. Silly Spider is a comic strip written and drawn by artist P.T. Parker. And the irreverent Spider, and a somewhat unshaven Spider gets leaps off the page, goes after a fly, and does kind of make a mess of things. About to eat said fly, but Jameson and Parker show up, and the artwork's gone, and well, when Jameson is his usual complimentary self, Silly Spider tosses something at his head, knocking his hat off, and as Silly Spider flies out the window with the fly he was about to eat, Silly Spider is intercepted by Madam Web and Spider UK. And, Silly Spider wants to know what all that crap is all over Madam Web and Spider UK, all over their clothes. Color. Silly Spider, after all, comes from a black and white world. But that is where the issue ends. It is stated that Web Weaver's story will continue in pages of End of the Spider-Verse, while Hunter Spider is simply said to be continued. Which brings us to our next book, Spider-Man #1. Written by longtime Amazing Spider-Man writer Dan Slott, and drawn by Mark Bagley, who, in all honesty, is my favorite Spider-Man artist. So, yeah. So we got the origin of Spider-Man, doing further tests on the Goblin armor and reporting back to Osborn about it. But an Oscorp truck has been hijacked, so Spidey goes and saves the truck, as well as saves the people nearby. Shatter's watching, alongside Nestling, formerly known as Spiderling, I believe, or maybe it was, no, I think it was Spiderling. However, their events are also being watched by Madam Web and Spider UK and Aranya. Spidey's doing a bit of a meet the press junket when a portal full of wasps opens and a swarm of wasps show up. But Spidey lets the criminals go when another portal opens up, and out steps Morlun. Morlun, one of the inheritors, has tried on multiple occasions to feast on the Spider Totem, Spider Totem heroes. But this time Spidey's trying to get ahead of him, but yeah, it's not doing much. But Morlun tries to subdue Spidey briefly. Just subdue. But he still packs a wallop when doing so. When Miles Morales and Silk show up, along with Jessica Drew, which kind of slows down Morlun. Silk is stung by a wasp. He goes after Morlun when another portal opens, and out jumps Spider-Man Noir. Who suddenly pulls a dagger and stabs Jessica Drew with it. Causing her to unravel and cease as though she never existed. Madam Web and Aranya realize that Spider-Man Noir has fallen. But Morlun knocks out Noir and explains that he's actually there to help. But Noir teleports the group to elsewhere to explain that, yeah, he's either join Shatter or die. And he's already got allies. Spider-Punk, Ghost Spider, and looks like and Spider-Girl from the MC2 universe. But that is where the issue ends. Right? Right? Okay, yeah. Interesting. I actually haven't read any of the previous Spider-Verse stories. I get the basic gist of things. The Inheritors attack, all the spider heroes from the multiverse get together, all kinds of neat new spider heroes are introduced. Some die, some don't. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Miracleman, number 0. So, Miracleman. Miracleman was as I recall, was originally named Marvelman. I want to say I don't want to say an analog. He's a hero similar in vein to Captain Marvel, DC's Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. And he's had a lot of the property has been a nebulous state for a long time. For a while, Todd McFarlane had it, and was even working at trying to bring Miracleman into Spawn, but I'm not sure. I honestly do not know to what degree that panned out. I think that the rights somewhat made it to Marvel in part due to Marvel's aiding of Neil Gaiman in his lawsuit against McFarlane. But I could be mistaken. I may actually just do an entire video just about Miracleman. But it was an extremely popular series in the UK. But yeah, very really popular, well written, well regarded. So yeah, this number 0 is really just kind of a primer for the various characters from the Miracleman mythos. Related titles, I guess, mythos. I'm not really sure how it works, but we've got one where Miracleman is in a futuristic library. He wants to read fiction. Ends up grabbing some comic books out of a shelf, including some that have his face staring back at him. Then we've got a post-apocalyptic nuclear winter story. It's kind of neat. We got some fun. We got some. I like the look of the one guy's power armor. We got a nice little fake ad for the Miracleman, the animated series. Then we got Whisper in the Dark, featuring Jack's a Gun, a futuristic private eye. There's been apparently a rather brutal murder and group of murders, and one survivor who most likely is the perpetrator, and yeah, he is. But the whole thing's explained that he's able to spread grim doubt, and that kind of calmed him. But Jackson Gunn takes him down, and that's that. Then we've got Kimoda's Miracle by Peach Momoko. Kimoda is the entity that provides Miracleman with his power. But a man goes to a sage, asks for a miracle, and so he's given an idol of Kimoda, says Kimoda's name, and the man's journey begins. However, it seems that Kimoda is explained that Kimoda heard the wish of the man's heart, and his man desires a new beginning, a new life. Komodo grants it, but in order to be reborn, one first must die. And so the man does, and a miniature version of Miracleman steps out of the man's ear. Here our story ends. We've got some comic strip type comics: Bates in Hell, Doomed, Buried, Big Ben and Sleepyland, and Komodo Cat. And finally, we've got Jason Aaron and Lionel Hughes, the man whose dreams were miracles. A version of Miracleman visits Miracleman's apparent creator as a comic, but he seems to be there to destroy him. But another Miracleman appears to save him. The older version falls to the hands of the newer version, but the man dies, and with his last breath says Komoda. And another Miracleman shows up, dealing with the newer one and seemingly taking him down. Asking existential questions about itself before flying off. Saying to himself that he'll write a better story. Or he'll write himself a better life. But that is where the issue ends. This was interesting, and soon be a recreation and conclusion to Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham's Miracleman: The Silver Age story. I believe the first parts of it were released years ago, but the story was never completed. Again, I think it had to do a lot with kind of the question as to who, or not so much questions of ownership, more just the ownership of the IP shifting in turbulent times. I'm looking forward to reading Miracleman: The Silver Age. I believe Marvel is also going to be putting out a Miracleman omnibus, or probably two. I'll have to look into that. Might be interesting to read all that. Moving on to our last one for the moment, we've got Black Adam: The Justice Society Files, Dr. Fate. Yes, Pierce Brosnan will be playing Dr. Fate in the upcoming Black Adam film. I might do a review if I can, find the time. Really, it won't be like previous reviews where I go see the movie on a Thursday night and crap out a review in time for Friday morning. So the issue begins in the Tower of Fate. Kent Nelson is meditating, thinking about his past with the Justice Society, but there appears to be a demonic presence present. So Fate puts the helm of Naboo back on, and in a swamp, a couple of children, Dexter and Carrie, are wandering around looking for a supposedly haunted house, which they find. Two of their other friends are there as well, Renee and Kevin. Kevin already being inside, and Renee hiding to scare the crap out of Dexter. As they all get in the house, they find a dead body. Renee seemingly found a ritual online allowing them to talk to the dead. Carrie says the words, and the demon, whose presence was detected earlier by Fate, appears, as does Fate himself. Carrie's taken over by the demon, fights off Fate, knocking the helm Naboo off of him. But as Fate's about to destroy the remains of the body to sever the link, that's when the helm of Naboo gets knocked off of him, and just out of his reach. However, while it does seem that the demon has the upper hand, and showing Kent a vision of Black Adam sitting on a throne over the seemingly dead bodies of the Justice Society. Dexter has retrieved the helm of Naboo, which Fate puts back on and allows him to remove the demon from the girl, but it seems to have cost the girl her life. Dexter calls out Fate for kind of say, "Hey, I helped you, and you can't help me in return." But Fate realizes the kid's right, and Carrie awakens while Fate vanishes. Back at his tower, he calls Carter, Hawkman, already knowing that Hawkman plans to put the JSA back together, and yes, Dr. Fate will stand beside Hawkman again. In the backup story, our primary character has regained some hope in Kahndaq. Well, in the present, no, in the past. In the present, Inner Gang is still looking for the artifact, though Adriana's associates managed to find it. She managed to escape from Inner Gang on one of their hover bikes, and is picked up by her associates, and apparently putting some artifacts together. It's a map to the Rock of Eternity. And that is where the issue, and that's where the story and the issue ends. It's been fun. None of them have. I have a moderate degree of interest in the Black Adam movie, and none of these have added to it. The closest one it has is the Hawkman one, but it's more because I like Hawkman. So, guess we'll see when I get around to seeing it, right? Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.